I've I've come to really understand the importance of community and investing where you are. God places you in certain places for certain times, and that may be a short period of time or a long period of time, but we're all where we are for a reason. And I've always been of the mentality that wherever I am, I'm going to do the very best that I can to contribute towards the community that I live in.
Welcome to an inspirational people interview on the Share Life podcast. I'm Jason Scott Montoya, and today I'm speaking with the Sugar Hill Mayor. And if you're not familiar with the area, Sugar Hill is in Georgia. Brandon Hembree. Brandon, say hello.
Thanks, Jason, for having me today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Brandon is a lifelong Gwinnett County resident, and he's dedicated to making Sugar Hill an exceptional place to live, work, and raise a family, which is a great thing for a mayor. And he's been involved in a lot of those initiatives, and perhaps some of those might come out of our conversation. But to just get us started, who's Brandon? Where do you come from? You're in Gwinnett. What part of Gwinnett did you originate?
I grew up in the eastern part of Gwinnett County, so in the Lilburn, Lawrenceville area.
Okay.
Graduated from Berkmore High School, and then my mom, when I was in college, she ended up over here in Sewanee, and that's how I came to
Okay.
be affiliated with Sugar Hill.
So me and my wife moved to Atlanta in 2005 from Arizona, and we moved to Norcross. And so we lived in Norcross until about 2014, and then we moved to Lawrenceville, Snellville border, and then we've been in Sugar Hill since 2017. We haven't been in Gwinnett as long as you, but we've been in Gwinnett a long time and feel like it's home to us.
Yeah, well, Arizona has a little bit different weather than here as well. So,
Yeah. What year was that you were born there?
so I was born in 1975, and I graduated from Berkmore High School in 1994. So that was some time ago. My mom moved to Sewanee around the time that I finished college. So that would have been
Okay.
1998 or so. And so
Okay.
this whole area, as you know, was a lot different then.
What was Gwinnett County like in 1975, or maybe a few years after that when you weren't a baby?
Oh my goodness. It was a lot smaller from a population standpoint, a lot smaller. But interestingly enough, I went to Georgia State University for college, and at the time it was a commuter school. And so I literally drove back and forth every day. And even in the 1990s, we had traffic here in Gwinnett County. And so I know a lot of people complain about traffic, but we've actually had it for quite some time here in this area.
Yeah. Now, in the 1970s, what was Sugar Hill like?
Oh, well, I was not, obviously I was not familiar with Sugar Hill in 1975. And to be honest with you, I had not really heard of it as a community um, i- up until my mom moved to this area. And so we discovered Sugar Hill, through locating in Sewanee. But in 1975, um, Sugar Hill would have been very rural and agricultural in nature, and it would have been a lot different than it is now.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. I remember when we lived in Norcross, driving to Buford, it just felt like, wow, this is so far.
It
And Sugar Hill's right next to Buford. So,
Yeah,
um, but I don't remember like when we moved here in 2017 because we moved to Atlanta in 2005. I just don't remember as much in Sugar Hill as there is when we moved here. So it
yeah.
certainly has grown a lot. Yeah. Now, what was it like for you growing up?
It was great. I enjoyed growing up in Gwinnett County. Um, we were far from family, so originally, my mom's family is from Blue Ridge, Georgia, and
Oh,
so,
okay.
even more different, than
Yeah, yeah.
Gwinnett can be very, very much a small town, feel. But she moved here, because this is where, the jobs, were available, and, even though we were away from family, we were still very close to Blue Ridge, and so, I would spend my summers, with my grandparents, in Blue
Okay.
Ridge, and so kinda had the perspective of both worlds. But, growing up here in Gwinnett County was great. We had a great school system and continue to do so, and so, I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah. Now, Gwinnett County is essentially outside of the perimeter highway around Atlanta.
That's right.
I think of it just as part of Metro Atlanta, but when you were growing up, did it feel like part of Atlanta or did it feel like a separate thing?
No, it felt very separate, to be honest with you. And the exit that we all live off of on I-85, when you first come through Sewanee, that was really literally kind of the end of the world at that point in time. And what really opened that up was, and you may remember this, the Falcons training camp, which is now in
Oh,
the Flowery Branch area, but it used to be right there off of that Sewanee exit,
oh,
and that really,
wow.
I think, contributed, a lot to the growth, in this area.
Yeah. So you probably remember before when we moved here, the whole Gwinnett Place arena area, or
Uh-huh.
the or Gwinnett Mall. That kind
Yes.
of like when we moved here, it was kind of like run down and there wasn't a lot going on. But maybe
Yeah.
when you were a kid, it was like pretty hopping place.
It was the hangout place when I was in middle school and high school, and so, like
Okay.
parents today, they drop their kids off in the downtown area. In those days, my mom would drop me off at the mall, and, I'd hang out there, on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Yeah, yeah. So what school did you go to then, and does that school still exist? And high
Yeah,
school and
so,
stuff?
for middle school, I went to Sweetwater Middle School, and it's still there, and it's a great middle school, and then I graduated from Berkmore High School, which
Okay.
has a Lilburn address, but it's actually the lower part of Lawrenceville,
Mm,
and, it's still there. It's been that school's been there, from what I understand, since the early '80s, and it still
okay.
exists. Yep.
Yeah. So a big miles. There's a lot of big things that happened in Atlanta over the years, but the Olympics would be one of the big
Yeah.
ones. So do you remember when the Olympics came to town? You would have been what, 21, 22?
Age, absolutely, and I do remember it, and we were I have a younger brother, 4 years younger than me, and, we wanted to go to, some of the events, that were taking place here, not just in Atlanta, but, the rowing venue was on Lake Lanier, and there were just different places,
Yeah.
all over Georgia that you could go and kinda take advantage of the opportunity, and I remember how hard it was to get tickets for really anything. And we were able to get tickets for one of the soccer matches, which at the time I was really not very interested in, but we just knew that we wanted to go to an event.
Yeah.
And so I believe it was in Covington where
Oh,
they
wow.
played. And so
Yeah.
we were able to take advantage of that being here in Atlanta. And it was a great experience.
Yeah. So are there any other memories you have in the last 50 years of Atlanta that really stick out to you?
Going to Atlanta quite a bit for Braves games, and it wasn't very often that people this far out went into Atlanta. But the most memorable aspect of that was every time we would go to Atlanta to a Braves game, we would go to the Varsity downtown,
Okay,
and
yeah.
that's always been kind of a fun and great memory for me.
Okay.
If
So do
something
you
else,
remember when they built the expansion?
do what now?
Do you remember when they built the varsity expansion?
Yes, I did, and I remember they opened one up off of Jimmy Carter, and I don't
Yeah.
even know if it's still there or not, but there was just something that was, something about the Atlanta location was different than every other
Yeah.
expansion and location
Yeah, I
that
would
they
agree.
had. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's a unique experience if you've never been to Atlanta, stop by the varsity and
right.
shovel down a hot dog. So
It's an Atlanta institution, there's no doubt about it.
yeah. Any other highlights of Atlanta if someone's never been to the Atlanta area?
No, I mean, and this may be just kind of an indication of how much things have changed. But near Berkmore High School, there was a place where you could pay to fish, and
Oh, okay.
it was called Brown's Lake. And I remember growing up and fishing on Brown's Lake, and it is no longer there. But that's just another great memory that I
Okay.
have. And one of the reasons that my mom chose to move to this part of Gwinnett County was the closeness to Lake Lanier and the Chattahoochee River, and so I remember growing up and developing a love for fishing at Brown's Lake, And now I love to fish here. Um,
Yeah. Okay. And where do you like to fish? Lanier?
um, I love to fish on Lake Lanier. They have great striped bass, and at certain times of the year, it's just phenomenal fishing. But I'm a fly fisherman. That's what I love to do. And there's some great places to fish. Just on the western border of Sugar Hill along the Chattahoochee River, and some great places where you can kind of wade in to the
Yeah.
water and do fly fishing, and that is great fun. Um,
Yeah. And I assume you still do that today.
I do very regularly. I have a a spot that I love that I don't tell people about too much, but it's
Yeah.
south of the bridge there on Cumming
Okay.
Highway. And there's a great area where you can just walk out and I see you have to get there early because people will take your good fishing spots.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love as often as I can. I love to get out on the river.
Now, I've heard people say that you can catch stripers in the river. Is that true?
Um, n yes, you can. They're not as common though because, the water, at least, just below Beaufort Dam is very, very cold. And so mostly what you're gonna catch will be, rainbow trout and brown trout, a majority of
Okay.
brown trout.
Okay. Yeah. And is there something about fly fishing that just you enjoy it so much more than real fishing?
Yeah, it just seems to be more relaxing. You're out in the water, with your waders on, and there's something that's just relaxing about having that water flow around you.
Yeah. More of an immersive experience, it
Yeah,
sounds like.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And did you fish from a young age or did that come later?
I've started fishing at a very young age. It was something that both of my grandfathers, enjoyed doing, and I developed a lifelong love for fishing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what do you did you start becoming a mirror like right out of high school or did you do something
No,
else at the beginning?
no, long story, but, um, you know, uh, when I when I bought a home here in Sugar Hill, I just I felt like most people feel, I just wanted to put roots in the community where I chose to live, and so started out serving on my homeowners association, and then there was a vacancy that opened up on the city's downtown development authority, and somebody appointed me to one of the board positions, and I served
Oh.
in that a while.
And what year was that?
I can't remember the year, exactly, but I wanna say that was probably around the early 2000s, or
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
And then, served, uh, in that position for a while and then became, uh, a city council member. There was a position, that opened up, and then 4 years ago, um, Mayor Steve Edwards decided to move on, to retire essentially, and it opened up the opportunity for me to run for mayor, and I did that. And so I'm just in a first term. I happen to be at the end of the first term.
Yeah. So, what was the it sounds like you kind of the opportunity came up, you took advantage of it, and it kinda went from one thing to the next, and before you know
Yeah,
it, you're the mayor?
that's right. It's like so many other things in life. There's you try to plan, but life doesn't really work out that way sometimes. And I really enjoyed serving on city council and developed a great relationship with Mayor Edwards. He was a mentor to me,
Yeah,
and so things just kind of naturally progressed. And he supported me when he moved on, and so I was able to win the election and to become the mayor.
yeah. So, to rewind a little bit, you and mom had moved to Swanee, you end up in Sugar Hill, like, what made you transition from Swanee to Sugar Hill?
She bought a home in Sewanee, and I lived with her, through college, all 4 years of college. I commuted back and forth, as I said earlier, from Georgia State University, and it came time for me to to buy my own place, and I had the ability uh, to do that. And I looked all over Metro Atlanta, even as far away as Noonan, Georgia, with
Oh,
the
wow.
idea at that time, I was like, I'm going to get as far away from my mom as possible. And then, I was like, I'm just going to stay here, stay close to her. And so we just started looking together. She helped me look, and we found a new neighborhood, and I bought a starter home, and I still live in it. And that's how I kind of ended up in Sugar Hill.
Okay. And so what year was that you bought the house?
Oh my goodness. So I just paid my mortgage off. So I want to say it was between 25 and 30 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's quite a journey. So when you think about Sugar Hill, like, there probably are very few people that have been in Sugar Hill as long as you have. Is
Yeah.
that a good accurate?
That's accurate. And that seems to be the people that of course, there are people that have lived there their entire life, right? And for
Yeah,
multiple generations. But a majority of the people that I meet are relatively newcomers to the community, and I think that 20 to 30-year time frame, I think that was a big time for a lot of people to move to this part of Gwinnett County.
yeah. And what would you say is it about Sugar Hill that makes Sugar Hill Sugar Hill? What makes it unique compared to the Suwanee or other surrounding cities?
Yeah, I think it's location. We are equally distant between um, 85 and Georgia 400, and so I
Mhm.
think just from a convenience standpoint, for people that um, work elsewhere outside of Gwinnett County.
Yeah.
I think that makes everything easily accessible. Um, I also think too that a lot of young families come here because they enjoy the outdoors, and because we have Lake Lanier and we have the Chattahoochee River National Recreation Area on our western border. I think that's very attractive to outdoor enthusiasts, people that like to fish, that like to hike, and that like to be on Lake Lanier, but maybe can't afford to actually live on Lake
Yeah.
Lanier. And so I think that's another very attractive feature. We also have the North Gwinnett cluster and the Lanier cluster that serve the students in this area. And those are the top two clusters that there
Mhm.
are in Gwinnett County. And I think, at least for my mom, she moved to Gwinnett County because of the school system, and I think if you talk to most parents, that's a top decision maker for them when they're choosing
Yeah.
to relocate somewhere.
Yeah, one of the reasons we picked, a little different for us, but we picked, Sugar Hill because we're part of Gwinnett Church,
Yeah, oh,
which is part of
yes.
North.
I
Yeah.
forgot about that, and I discovered that very recently actually because, we have great churches in this area, and
Mhm.
Caitlin may have said this to you. Kate, your wife and I, we serve on the school council together for Lanier Middle School, and they have about 30 Ukrainian refugee children at Lanier Middle School, and I wondered why. And we have discovered that it is because there are Russian and Ukrainian oriented churches in this area, and members want to be close to their church, and so that's why they locate here.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. So, on the school front now, we do have someone in our neighborhood, that moved from Las Vegas to Sugar Hill
Okay.
because of the district, the White Oak and
Yeah.
Lanier, cluster. So they picked this school district when they moved across the country.
I hear that often about White Oak Elementary School, and it is a STEM certified school, and
Yeah,
that is quite unique in the Gwinnett County
yeah,
school system, and so that's a lot of people come here because of White Oak Elementary School.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we moved here, not really. I mean, you kind of think about the community in like an abstract way, but I think we realized just we benefited with how awesome this community is, both our neighborhood and the city, without really like fully realizing it before we moved here. But once we got here, it was like, wow, this is a really special place.
Yeah, I hear that a lot from people. That's right.
Yeah. So you become mayor. What would you want people to know about being mayor that the common citizen resident doesn't really think about or understand, but that you think would be useful for them to appreciate?
Yeah. Well, I think most people assume that it's full-time compensation, right? So it is a full-time responsibility, but it is, I call it volunteer compensation. And so the
You get a
compensation
stipend
level,
enough
right,
to eat
yeah,
dinner.
basically it's, the mayor's compensated $400 a month and council members are compensated $300 a month. And so
Mhm.
I think people kind of misunderstand and think that it's a career, and it's not for anybody that serves in one of
Mm.
those local elected positions. It is something that they do because they love the community, and
Yeah,
and most often, unless they're retired, they also work a full-time job in addition to
yeah.
serving. Yeah.
So vocationally, what are the things that you do or have done over your career
Yeah, so
outside of mentoring?
a great question. I have been a partner in a public affairs firm for almost 25 years, and that is what I do professionally.
Okay.
I'm also an adjunct professor at Georgia State University, and I teach the Georgia politics course to graduate students and undergraduate students.
Okay. Did you do that before you became mayor?
No, I did not. That's something that I started recently within the last several years, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. I'm a graduate of Georgia State University and came out of the political science department, and it's just one of those goals that I had in life, and the opportunity presented itself several years ago.
What are some things you've learned and just how to do that well?
Yeah, I mean that is an excellent question because just and I'll be open and transparent with you. Um, One of the things that I struggle with as an individual is just focus, right? I I'm the person I have the type of mind that is just all over the place all of the time. And to be able to do all of those things, I have to be really disciplined
Mm,
with
yeah,
my time. And I wish I could say that I do a great job at it. I do the best that I can, and I'm constantly learning and growing
yeah,
in my understanding of how to do that. But that is one of the most difficult things that comes with anybody I think that serves in an
yeah.
elected position.
For people that are not familiar with the role of being a mayor, what authority, what role does the mayor have? What do they not have that people might think that they do?
Like the structure at the state and federal level, we have a legislative, executive, and judicial branch. And so I am the head of the executive branch. City council serves the function of the legislative branch. And so they are the members, the elected officials in Sugar Hill that actually vote on items. And so if there's an ordinance change, an annexation, or a policy change that is made from a city standpoint, the five members of city council, they are actually the members of the team that will vote on
Okay.
those types of changes. My job is to implement the policies and implement the budget that city council puts into place. I don't do that by myself. I do that along with the 130 employees that we have as a city, and that's my primary function as the mayor. I also have the responsibility of being the chief spokesperson for
Mm,
the city, and that means that if a document needs to be signed, I sign it. If the media reaches out with an inquiry regarding the city, it's my role and responsibility to respond. And also my interpretation of being the chief spokesperson for the city means that I'm going to be the person that goes to the school event and supports our kids, and
yeah,
and that is something that I take very seriously.
yeah. So, and is there things that people think the mayor does that are misconceptions?
Yeah, I think most people assume that because I am a member of city council, I actually preside over the city council meetings that I vote, and
Mm,
and I am not allowed to vote unless there is a tie on city
Oh,
council.
okay.
And because we have 5 members, that is very, very, very infrequent. We would need to be missing someone in order for that to happen.
Mm.
And in the entire 4 years that I've been the mayor, I never have had the opportunity to vote on anything. So
You talk about the structure, the council and the mayor. Is that something that the city designed when it was founded, or is that imposed by the state?
each city is a creature of the state, meaning that in order for a city to exist, they have to be legislatively incorporated by the Georgia General Assembly. And the city of Sugar Hill was created in 1939 by act of the
Oh,
General
wow.
Assembly. And
Yeah.
whenever that happens for a new city, there is a charter that is adopted, which really outlines the structure of the government and how the branches interact with each other. And so we
Okay.
have a charter, which essentially is just like our state constitution or federal constitution.
Okay. And does that mean most cities in Georgia are going to be pretty similar with maybe some differences?
Yeah, mostly similar. And again, that just comes out of that model that we have for our country of having the three branches
Yeah.
government. But yeah, mostly the structures are going to be very very similar across Georgia.
Yeah. So when you think about living well, living better, what does that mean to you?
Living well to me means that you are a part of the community that you live in, and I think my wife and I we had to discover that as a couple. We married late in life. We were both in our early 30s when we married, and when you don't have children, you have to be really um, focused on how you're going to engage in community because there's so many things that are designed around families, right?
Yeah.
Athletics, you name it.
Yeah.
And so we had to, as a couple, we had to figure out um, what community meant for us. And I don't think we realized how significant that is. Uh,
Mm.
how significant it was for us individually, but also as a couple. And
Mm.
once we started to engage in community and to be involved in the best ways that we could, then we really, really, I think, felt like we were thriving here.
Yeah. And so I think on one end, you could have thriving together community.
Mhm.
And on the other end, you have isolation, survival, this sort of opposite.
Yes.
And so how how do you what like your vision of thriving together, like go into some of the details of what that looks like and how you make that happen.
Sure. So I think in a couple, and you know this with Caitlin, you're going to have things that are passions for you,
Hmm.
and you're going to do those individually, probably.
Yeah.
But there are things that you share together that you're both passionate about,
Mm.
and you're going to want to do those things together. And so Tara and I have been married for 18 years, and we've kind of figured that out. Um, we're always going to be in a state of learning, but for us, the common thing that we have a passion about is being involved with our church, and so that's where we
Hmm.
started getting involved. And after we did that, we started to meet people and just to make connections um, and and we found things to do together, but things to do individually that kind of helped us um, really get involved, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that because your faith is a big part of who you are,
Yes.
and it's shaped who you are. It shapes how you live. But as a mayor, you're also dealing with a community where you have people that are coming to the table with a variety of different religions and points of view
Absolutely.
or worldviews. So, what are your thoughts on that dynamic, and how do you do that well?
And and that's such an excellent question because as the spokesperson for the city, I have to be the spokesperson, and I need to be the spokesperson for everybody.
Mhm.
And that can be challenging, at times, and we have a lot of religious diversity, in our community, and and I'm gonna be honest with you, none of that matters to me. If someone reaches out to me and they want me to go to an event, at their church, if they wanna support, an effort that they're doing, as a church, even if it's different from my own church, um, I'm I'm gonna I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna be there, supporting them. Um, I think diversity, um, makes a community stronger.
So it's you see that as an act of strengthening the community by supporting, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
bringing people together.
Bringing people together, um, being open minded. Um, there are things that I don't know that I need to learn, that I can learn from other
Yeah,
people.
blind spots and such.
Blind spots and such. That's
Yeah.
absolutely right. And I think when you're in a position like the mayor's position or another elected position, I think you have to have that open mindedness about.
Yeah. So that's a bit on the living side. What about working? What does it mean to work smarter and be efficient and effective and hold values while you're doing your work?
That is hard. Um, and that goes back to the time management,
Yeah.
conversation that we had earlier. And, the hardest thing for a mayor to do is to say no. And so I find myself saying yes, a lot and yes to everything. And, and that can be overwhelming. But I think what I've learned is that, um, good leaders let other leaders lead. And even though someone reaches out to me, about a need in our community, um, it's not always right for me to assume that they're asking me to do it. Most
Oh,
often,
okay.
they're asking me for, the opportunity to come alongside of me so that I can help them. I can open the door or to be a voice for them. And I think I think with that mindset, the mindset of you're gonna be most effective when you enable other people, to do the things that they're passionate about. I think that makes time management easy, and it just has a force multiplier from an effect standpoint in the community.
Yeah, that's interesting. And tell me what you think of this. I think a lot of it is if you listen to them and hear them, like that's most of the battle,
It is. Yeah.
right?
Most people just need encouragement, right? If someone's reaching out to me about, um, a food drive that they want to do in the community, they're just looking for encouragement. They might be looking for, again, a door opener or someone to be a voice for them. And I think that's just kind of the perspective that you have to look at it from.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned a little bit about mentoring earlier. Tell us about the importance of mentoring.
It is so important, and so, I and others talk about this all the time. I'm really big on young people, in our community, and, I call it modeling, right? So, we have to model to them what it means to be, a community, and that's mentorship, to
Yeah.
me. Um, I am also involved with, and Caitlin may have told you this, with an organization called Brothers Making Moves, and it is an enrichment and program for young men at Lanier Middle School. And so we do 2-year cohorts. We are at the very beginning stages with a new cohort, this year, but we spend 2 years with about 20 um, young men from Lanier Middle School, and we coach them, we support them and their parents, and 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 it's helped me understand the importance of mentorship. Um, Once these boys go on to high school, you would think they'd probably forget you, But let me tell you, when you invest a couple years into their life, they remember you. And it's so great to go into the high school and see some of the boys that we have mentored in years past, and they recognize me, and they're thriving. And that's what mentorship is all about.
Yeah, cool. What about, let's talk about stories. How do you think about stories, and how have any specific real or fictional stories shaped, or narratives shaped you as a person?
So I consider myself a storyteller.
Yeah.
I write a lot, and I think I've written over 45 articles on Sugar Hill history for the
Yeah.
North Gwinnett Voice. And so I value the art of storytelling. That's a little bit different, right, than um, maybe some other views on storytelling. But I also value storytelling about Sugar Hill. And
Mm,
so everywhere I go, um, I say great things about our community because I want people to know that we live in a great place. And it also just helps me in my own mind, you know, continue that love that I have for community. And so I'm a storyteller in that way as
okay.
well. I'm also a reader. I love to read, and
Fiction, nonfiction, both?
a little bit of everything, to be honest with you. History, biographies, mysteries, you just name it. I'll read it if you give it to me. But yeah, stories through books have greatly enhanced my life as well.
Yeah. Tell me about storytelling in politics and storytelling in elections. Like, how did those two go together?
They go together very well. I mean, um, we all have a story to tell, and I think that when you're telling your story, I think people pick up on whether or not you're passionate about what you're talking about. And so I I feel a great love and passion for the community that we call home. And so when I talk to people, I'm hopeful that they feel the passion that I have for the community.
Yeah. Another key component is systems. Like, systems keep the city running, right?
Yeah,
They keep chaos in somewhat of a controlled. So, talk
somewhat.
to us about systems and how you think about them. Do you have a system type of mindset?
Yeah. That this is something that I teach about at Georgia State University. Right. We talk a lot about political systems, and the great thing about um, the political system that we have here in Sugar Hill and in Georgia and in our country is that there's a document that's associated with
Mm,
those systems. And so we have a federal constitution, a state constitution, and we have a charter here that defines how we function as a city. And it literally creates order out of chaos. And so I rely very heavily on the system that we have here in Sugar Hill. So in addition to having elected officials, a mayor and city council, we have a day-to-day city manager that we call the city manager, and again, he fits within that structure of our charter, and that's how everything is able to function here in the city.
when does a system become tyrannical?
That's a great that's a great question. Um, it becomes tyrannical when the system begins to break down, and that can be for a variety of different reasons. It can be political in nature. You know, we are at a point in this country, and I think most people would not disagree that we are very polarized,
Mm,
and that is something that takes a while to get to the local level. But we're seeing a little bit of evidence of that here in Sugar Hill, and I'm hoping that we don't we don't become like the federal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at some research recently from Lynn Bavrick. She's at UCLA, and essentially she was looking at the data, and she said the last couple years um, have been the most intense local elections
Yeah.
in like a long time, like a century, and it just the intensity has just gone in has risen on the local level.
Yeah. That's right. And thankfully, because of again, the charter, those, trying to think of the right word, the constraints that are put in
Mhm.
place, it mitigates some of that. So,
Yeah, I think of like an engine. Like inside of a car engine, there's an immense amount of combustion and pressure, but the engine's designed to contain it, hopefully.
that's right.
Now, sometimes the engine breaks and it
Yeah,
goes out. And so that's always a risk is there's so much tension that it breaks the system.
right.
But ideally, it contains it and instead of breaking. So, what words of wisdom would you want to give you know, other people in Sugar Hill, but outside of it, what would you tell them
Sure.
just about your own life experiences, being a mayor, doing all this stuff?
You know, I think as I've gotten older, and certainly in the last 4 years of serving as mayor, I think I've come to really understand the importance of community and investing where you are. And you and I are obviously both uh, spiritual, and you know, I believe very strongly that God places you in certain places for certain times, and that may be a short period of time or a long
Mhm.
period of time, but we're all where we are for a reason. And
Mm,
I've always been of the mentality that wherever I am, I'm going to do the very best that I can to contribute towards the community that I live in.
yeah,
And I think most people have a heart for that. They they might not know how to do it. But if I could leave someone that's listening this with one bit of wisdom, I just think that is so important. And like I said earlier, it's something that Tara and I have discovered as a couple about where we live.
yeah. Well, talk to us a little bit more about that in the sense that, um, you know, because of the way that media is, I can learn about something that's happening in Arizona. You can learn about something that's happening in a different part of the world. We kind of we see everything, right?
Yeah,
But there's something to the power at the local level that we
absolutely.
both kind of abdicate that we could actually take advantage of and take responsibility for. So talk to
Yeah.
us about that.
You know, that's such an interesting question. I read an article recently by the George W. Bush Institute um, talking about how we've moved from local media to national media. And it became very apparent to me recently. We have a local media outlet called the North Gwinnett Voice, and they have historically been very focused on Buford, but they
Mm,
recently made a decision to expand their coverage to include
okay.
more of Sugar Hill, and
Yeah.
really I really think that that is going to be a game changer. We have, for whatever reason, as a society, become less localized or less focused on where we live. And local media outlets play a role, but we also play a role as individuals. We just need to take time to become more aware of the community that we live in, the people that live around us, and the needs that exist right here where we have been planted at this point in time.
Yeah. So we can actually make an impact in the media world around us
Yeah,
in ways that may be a lot more difficult to do on a state or national level. Yeah. And I guess there's the media thing is interesting, just having that kind of connection or giving our attention to the local area.
yeah,
having that. Because I mean, when I was growing up, I remember getting the local newspaper, right,
Mm.
thrown into your patio and and reading it and whatnot.
Yeah,
And I don't even know how kids would want it, how they would get local news now. I mean, I guess you could find it maybe in some places, but
it'd be very hard. I mean, most news that I think people get now is through online sources and probably primarily social media. But if you come into City Hall, there's a printed version of the North Gwinnett Voice downstairs
okay,
at the
yeah,
post office that you can pick up, um
yeah,
and and forgive me, but I don't mean to say that we shouldn't be aware of what's happening at the state and federal level.
yeah, yeah,
We should be, but I just think that we should also be aware of what's happening in
yeah.
our own
I
community.
And I also think it's a good, I think of like local as great, is great ground to experiment,
Yeah,
like a laboratory.
absolutely.
If you can figure out how to get along with your neighbor that you're struggling with, then maybe you can kind of scale that up in a different
Yeah,
context, right?
and I think too, like if you're someone that's our age and you're still trying to discover your purpose, right? Local opportunities create
Mhm.
the the ability for you to discover what you're passionate about if you haven't found that out yet.
There's a lot of opportunity if someone wants to get involved politically to step in and take responsibility. Just across the US, there's 500,000 elected positions in the US and 70% are uncontested.
Yeah, and that is at the local, state, and even sometimes at the federal level. In Sugar Hill, every 2 years we have municipal elections, and so there are always opportunities for people to if that's something that they're interested in, but, we also have boards and commissions like the Downtown Development Authority. That's where I started, before I
Mhm.
was elected to city council, but there are board and commission positions that are non-elective that you can be appointed to, that are great opportunities to serve in, and I, I'm reached out to all the time by people that have maybe they have a passion for the arts and they want to serve on our arts commission, or maybe they love history and they want to be involved with our historic preservation society. But there's some it's endless the
Mhm.
opportunities for you to be involved.
Yeah. When it comes to dealing with people that you disagree with or that have a different point of view or even become difficult when you interact with them, what's the vision and values that you hold to? Like, okay, I can't control how they're going to interact, but I can decide how I'm going to navigate this. So what is it for you that helps you through that?
Yeah, I think you have to go into it from a listening standpoint and not a speaking standpoint. And I have found that most people they just want to talk about
Mhm.
their concern or about your opinion, and I approach every opportunity as a learning opportunity, because I don't know everything, and
Yeah, yeah.
I'm never gonna know everything. If you have that philosophy, it helps you to slow down enough to listen to individuals that might have a different opinion than you on a subject matter.
So we have a sign with your name on it in her yard. Something's coming up. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so we have a municipal election this year, and there will be 3 positions that you have the opportunity to vote for. The mayor's position is up for consideration, and then we have 2 posts as well. Those elections are coming up. We actually have early voting that starts on October the 14th, and it ends on Friday, October the 31st, and then the
Okay.
regular voting day is on November the 4th, and all of that
Okay.
takes place here at City Hall. It's real easy. It's like a 5-minute
Is
activity.
that the only thing those three positions, or are there anything else on the ballot?
Those are the only 3 things from a municipal election standpoint. There are some opportunities for people to vote on the renewal of the East Flost, and that'll be at a different polling place that is,
Okay.
at the county level. And then I think there's a special election for 2 Public Service Commission, um, uh, posts, at the state level, and those are also
Okay.
opportunities. But from a municipal standpoint, there's just those 3. There's just 2 city council positions and then the mayor's position.
Okay. So why should someone cast their vote for for Mr. Brandon Hembree, the current mayor, to be mayor for another 4 years, I assume?
I appreciate the question. Um, there's some things that I'd like to continue, um, and it takes more than 4 years to get some of these things accomplished. But for me, I have been really focused on uh, partnerships with our schools and just connecting with youth here in Sugar Hill, and we've made some tremendous progress, but we have a lot more that needs
Mhm.
to be done. Uh, One of my big focuses has been on mental health, on suicide awareness and prevention. Unfortunately, in the last couple of years, we've had some teen deaths by suicide, and we are working on some programming with our schools to just, again, increase awareness about suicide. And that is one of the more important things that I want to continue doing in the community. I've also been really focused on parks, recreation, and green space, and we are at the beginning stages of uh, an inclusive playground, which would be for children with special needs, and we are at the community input part of that, and that's another thing that I just want to continue to work on and to hopefully create and open in Sugar Hill.
Okay. Anything else you wanna say about that?
No, I mean, I do want to just say, uh, and this is really all over Georgia. For whatever reason, residents don't take city elections very seriously. And for the last election 2 years ago, I was not involved in, it was not part of my election cycle. We only had 9% turnout from
Mhm.
the residents of Sugar Hill. And that means that 9% of the residents are making a decision for everybody. And
Yeah,
I actually have discovered through serving at the city level that from a day to day standpoint, you are most impacted by the decisions that are made at the local level. And I think that those elections are more important than at the state and federal level.
yeah. Maybe people are just
Yeah,
unaware of those effects, would you say?
I think so. And then I think people too just they get complacent. It's very easy just to come home from work and just to go inside and to not be engaged and involved. But I've discovered too that when people really make an effort to connect to the community, then elections become more important.
Yeah, if there's something you're trying to do or
Yeah.
accomplish, and then it becomes more clear, the connection, a lot of people may think, "Well, it kinda doesn't matter who wins, it'll work out."
Yeah, that's right. In this year for me, I'm trying to not make it so much about me. I'm really just encouraging people to vote.
Yeah,
I think the election
100%
can take care of
participation.
itself. Yeah,
Yeah. How do we get more people out?
right.
Yeah. Is there anything you wanna share that you haven't yet had a chance to, or
Also, just like to say, and you said this earlier, there really is something special about Sugar Hill. I hear it from everybody that I interact with in the community. There's a very unique connection that happens between the city, the school system, particularly the Lanier cluster and the North Gwinnett cluster, in our churches, and we're able to do as a team really extraordinary things in our city for our young people. And I think that is unique, and I just want
Mhm.
people to be aware of it. And I want people to also to find ways to connect. And if
Yeah,
there is something that you value, something that you love, that you're passionate about, and you want to get involved and you want to make a difference, I just want to encourage people to reach out to me and let me know. And I will find a way for you to get involved.
yeah. How would they do that?
They can just reach out to me. I make my cell phone available on everything, and I'm gonna just give it here.
Okay, go
um,
ahead.
it is 404-372-3270, and you can literally reach out to me anytime. Call me, text me. That is the best way to connect with me.
Okay. And if anyone wants to learn more about, like, what you're doing, like,
Yeah.
stay up to date, is there any kind of, place, online or any way that they can get updates about the city and what you're doing?
Yeah, I have a Facebook page as the mayor,
Okay.
and it's real easy to find, and anybody's welcome to go to that. We also have a city Facebook page that's very active, and we post about activities and various other things related to the city, and I think that's a great way to learn,
Yeah.
as well if you're into that method, into the
Yeah.
method of social media. And then the city has a great website too, and we do regular updates and post newsletters to that, and that's another way to get in tune with what's happening. I appreciate you. Thank you for the opportunity to do this today.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing your life with us. I'm Jason Scott Montoya. This has been an episode of the Share Life podcast, and we'll see you on the next one.
Are you a small business owner? Have you hit a glass ceiling where year over year you cannot rise above a certain revenue level? Check out Jason Scott Montoya's book, The Jump, to discover how to level up your leadership and pivot your entrepreneurial passion to the highest level.